In today's tutorial video, I'm going to show you how to assemble your big quilted totes. So the pattern is available at exshawquilts.com and it'll give you all of the details in order to make your panels. So I've already squared up these panels and they are ready to go. So remember, for the tote patterns, we do not use a backing, and the reason for that is because we're going to put a drop-in liner, so you don't need to have that extra fabric. So these have been hand quilted, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to notch out our corners on both of the panels. In fact, we are going to notch out the corners on all of the panels, including the lining, but we're going to start with our outside or exterior panels here. So we're going to measure out a 2 inch by 2 inch square. I'm just going to take this tape off here and we're going to square it up by doing that. So I'm just going to find where that is. So here we are, and you could go ahead and cut it right away, but I kind of like drawing it on the panel first because I want to make sure that I don't have any mistakes, because wouldn't that suck if you accidentally cut off too much of your panel, right? So that's the reason why I draw them on to begin with. So we're just gonna do the same over here, and remember it's 2 inches by 2 inches. And once we get our lining done, we're going to do the same. So I'm just going to swap out our panels and make sure that they're in the right direction. So these are in the right direction, the way that I want them. They're the same panels, but you know, I'm a little bit picky. So we're just going to draw out this on this side as well. And then we can go ahead and cut out our squares. And the reason we do this is because it will box your tote, which means that it'll sit nice and flat on the floor. Okay, so we're gonna grab our big scissors here. Oh, stuck to my magnetic. Okay, and then we're just gonna cut these out. And you can use a rotary cutter, but I find for doing this kind of work, I like my scissors a little bit more. It kind of gives me a little bit more control, and I definitely want that when I'm doing something like this. Okay, and we can cut out the other side. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and cut out this other side, and then we will carry on to the lining. I did quickly want to point something out. Because we are making cuts and we've hand quilted this, just don't pull on your threads that you've hand quilted and it'll be fine. So don't stress about that. I know that you're probably going to ask me questions about that. So as long as you're not pulling this thread, it'll stay where it is, and you can, when we go to box up these corners and sew them, it's going to be fine because you're going to sew over the hand stitching anyway. Okay, so now we are ready to do the notches on our lining, and I have my lining panels stacked so I can cut them at the same time. These I'm going to use my rotary cutter with, just because there's 2 layers, and just be super careful. And if you're not feeling comfortable, then definitely do them one at a time. But I'm an impatient quilter, so I like to do them together. But you do whatever makes you feel the most comfortable. And again, I'm just going to use my rotary cutter. Be really careful. I like to leave the last little bit for my scissors so I don't slice up too far, because that can happen. There we go. So now we have our notches for both our lining and our panels, so we can move on to the next step. So right now I am just pinning my lining together before I move it. So I've just cut those notches out, and I'm going to pin it together, and I will even pin the top, even though I'm not going to sew the top. I'm just going to pin it with 2 pins to remind me not to sew up here. But I like to make sure that it's all kind of, you know, perfectly together before I lift it up and take it anywhere, because sometimes it can be a little bit stressful to do that later, but that's just me. You do you. Okay, so what we're gonna do now with this lining is we're going to, with our 1/4 inch foot, we're going to sew down this side. Leave this notch, do not sew it yet, okay? And then we're going to sew across the bottom and then up this side. We're going to ignore these notches right now, okay? And before we're going to do the same thing with the quilted panels, but before we sew our panels together, we want to make sure to add the leather straps. So we're going to do that first on the panel. So I'm going to take this over to my machine and we're going to sew it, and then I'm going to show you how to do these corners, okay? Okay, so I hope that you can see what I've done, because I've used white stitching. Hopefully you can see that. Anyway, so I have stitched down this side, the bottom, and this side, leaving these notches. Do not sew those yet. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our notches and we are going to open them up like that, and we're going to align so it's straight across, but our seams are together. So do you see what I did there? I'm going to show you again. Okay, so we've taken the notch like this, right? And we're going to pinch either side of the notch and open it up. Sometimes that's kind of difficult. So we're going to open that notch up. We're going to bring it together and we're going to line those seams up, okay? And we're going to stitch. We're going to make sure that it's straight across and that seam is aligned to the other seam. Do you see what I did there? So we're going to pin this and use as many pins as you want. I am not the quilting police here. It's not about perfection, it's about fun. So if you're looking for a perfect channel, then this isn't the one. Okay, so we have pinned across, and this will be our boxed corner. That's what they're called. So we're going to do the same on the other side. So it's like this, right? That notch looks like that, and then we're going to bring it out so our seams align. When I first started sewing, I found this really confusing, so I'm trying to show you as much as I can. And you want to make sure that it's going straight across. You see that? And our seams are aligned. And move this one up just a little bit here. And we're going to pin it. Like that. So we're going to go take it over to the sewing machine, and again with our 1/4 inch foot we're going to sew right straight across that. Okay, so we have sewn our boxed, so it looks like that, right? The bottom will sit nice and flat. So we have sewn across and we formed these boxed corners. So the bag looks like this. So this is the top of the bag and this is the bottom. I just want to clarify. Okay, and now what we want to do is we want to prepare the top of our bag. So in order to do that, we're going to fold over the top. So this is the wrong side, right? Because you can see the seams. We can see the raw edges. We want to make sure that we're folding over onto the raw edge, not once, but twice, okay? So we're going to do that by a 1/4 inch or an 1/8 of an inch, whatever makes you happy. So I've written the pattern for a 1/4 inch, but you know. Okay, so we're going to fold it to the wrong side once and iron it. And then we're going to fold it again and iron it a second time. So give it a press, and then we're going to top stitch it all the way around. And again, I like to top stitch just where it is folded over, you know. So we would top stitch it right here on that fold. Okay, So I'm going to go and take it over to the iron and give it a press, and then press it again with a 1/4 inch, and we'll be ready and able to top stitch it all the way around. We've just brought our lining back from the sewing machine, and we have finished the top edge. We've finished that off, so it'll look like this. So remember, we are folding it once and then folding it twice onto itself so it's nice and clean. And we're doing that, we're folding it to the wrong side, so towards the seams, okay? So the inside of the bag looks nice and finished. And that's what we want. We want it to look like that. So now that the lining is done and ready, we can set that aside and work on the panels. Before we attach our straps to the front of our panels that are not sewn together yet, this step is really important. So I want you to remember this. I made this mistake before and it totally sucks. So what we want to do is take the panel and fold over about a 1/4 inch, like a fold 1/4 inch over to the wrong side, to the batting side, because remember, we don't have lining on this yet. So we're folding over a 1/4 inch, and we're going to top stitch this down on both of the panels of our quilted panels. Okay, so I'm going to take this over to the iron, give it a press, and I'm going to top stitch the top down, and then we'll continue. We just brought our panels back from the sewing machine, and both panels have the top edge of the panel turned in a 1/4 inch and sewn down. So we've top stitched that all the way across to both of our panels. So now that that is complete, which is a very important step, by the way, we can attach our panels. So, our straps. So we have our straps pre-cut here and ready to go. And I like to take my ruler and kind of align it. And I already know that when I cut this, it was a little bit out. So here we are, we're perfectly lined up with our ruler. And now we want to measure 5 inches from the edge in. And that is where we're going to put our straps. So in order to place our straps, what I really like using is double-sided tape. So this is like 1/8 of an inch wide double-sided tape that I got off of Amazon. I kind of use it for almost everything. It's really handy for things like this, especially because you do not want to pin leather. You use your binding clips to secure it, but even that can be a little bit finicky. So I do like using double-sided tape for this. So we're going to find our 5-inch mark here, and then we're going to measure 2 inches down from the top. So we found our 5-inch mark here, right there, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right here, and then we're going to measure out 2 inches down. So I'm going to grab our smaller ruler so I can fit it into the video and pull it down a little bit here, and then we're just going to measure 2 inches down. So this is where the side of the strap, where we have our 5 inches from the side will be, and then it's 2 inches down. So we're just going to measure out 2 inches. So we could put it here, right there, or a little bit further down. And I actually like my straps a little bit further down. So here's where you can play with it a little bit. So I'm gonna put mine a little bit further down than 2 inches. So I'm gonna do about 2.5 inches. So right here is kind of where we wanna be. I'm gonna mark that out. Right here. So I've drawn little L's, if you can tell. I don't know if you can see that. I'll kind of bring it up. So I've marked kind of like little L's, and the strap will go on the side, this flat side, the parallel with the back end of the L, if that makes sense. Okay, so we want to take one strap and make sure that it is not twisted. Another really big tip. And then we're going to take our double-sided tape, and I'm going to take about 2 inches. of tape. I fold it over to the wrong side, making sure that it's not flipped or anything. And we're just going to place that double-sided tape in the middle of the strap. This helps stabilizes it, and it's just so handy. And then I'm just going to peel off the backing of that tape, and hopefully it's pressed down. You kind of have to give it a real good press for it to, and you will need a leather sewing machine needle. So here we have it. Should look like that. It's just kind of like a shiny strip, and the backing is off. So now we can place the strap on the first side. So I'm just going to bring it down a little bit, and then I'm going to line it up on the back of that L as straight as we can get it, just like that, and give it a press. And then you can take your binder clips and clip them. I don't have any in front of me, so I have to go over to my sewing machine, and I'm just going to clip here and here. Press it down really good so that glue kind of adheres to the leather and to the panel. So we're going to do the same with the other side. We're going to make sure that this is not twisted at all, and we're going to do the same to this other side. So again, with a double-sided tape, just put it in the middle of the... Okay, so I've just added the glue to the other side of the strap. So one strap equals one panel. So don't try to put your straps on both panels. That would be a disaster. Okay, and again, we're just going to line up to the other side of the L that we placed. I actually added a little bit of extra glue, so I went and grabbed my Elmer's washable and I added a little extra because it for some reason, I think maybe the tape is old or something, so it's not sticking like it normally has done in the past. So I added some extra glue to make sure that we are good to go. Okay, so now that we have our straps on our panel, take your binder clips and give it a clip. Do not use pins because obviously it's going to leave marks in your leather, and that's not going to be nice. And not only that, but it'll bend your needles. So it's really important when you take this over to your machine to change your needle to a leather needle, and you're going to sew an X. So if you are really nervous about this, you can draw an X if you want. So it's easier to see and you're not so stressed about doing it. So just corner to corner. What I also like to do, and it might be overkill for some, but I don't care. I'm going to do it my way anyway. So I'm going to put my X down, but then I'm also going to take and stitch along the strap at the end of the strap as well, just because I like it to be extra secure. Okay, so now that we have this ready to go, we're going to give it a clip, remember, and then we can change our needle and sew the straps to the panel. And we're going to do exactly the same thing with the other panel and strap. So now that both of our panels are completed and we have our straps attached, we can sew our panels together. So we're going to place the first one right side up, and then we're going to place the other one wrong side up, so it's facing up. And you're going to start pinning the top first because it's important that the top aligns perfectly, but not so much at the bottom. So we want to make sure that this is aligned just like that on the edge, and you're going to use your binder clips for these, but I don't have mine handy, so I'm just going to pin it. The reason I say binder clips is sometimes when you're pinning like layers that we have this many layers together with the pin, it can bend them. So that's why I say like it's a good idea to use binder clips. So when I get over to the sewing machine, I will kind of update that, but I wanted to show you. So always clip the top of your tote before the bottom, and then align the bottom. So I find that that works really, really good. So now that we have it all pinned, we're going to pretend that this is all pinned and we're ready to go. We're going to again sew down both sides and across the bottom. Ignore our cutouts, okay? You're gonna totally ignore those, and then we're gonna do the same process for these cutouts that we did with our liner. And another tip before we get any further, I didn't change my leather needle when I'm sewing this down. I just find that it sews like butter if I don't. So I will change out my leather needle once I go back to piecing, but for this step, I kept the leather needle in, and it just works really well. Okay, so now that we have sewn down both sides and at the bottom, and I would start sewing on the top. So I sewed here, and then I sewed there, and then I went down, and somehow I still managed to go the wrong way there, but that's okay. Okay, so now what we want to do is box our corners, and we're going to do the same thing that we did for the liner. So we're going to take our box corner, right, and you're going to open it up, and then you're going to align those seams. Now, it is a good idea to give these seams a press open, but I'm being lazy, so don't be me. But give those seams a press open, and then align the seams perfectly, and then we're going to clip it. Because I have no clips next to me, I'm just going to pin it. And again, I find that this step is well suited to the leather needle. And then again, we're going to box the other side, and we're going to again line up those seams and pin it on both sides of those seams. Make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. Again, you can clip this instead of pin it if you're worried about bending your needles, but I don't have them next to me. I don't know where I put them. Okay, so we're going to sew with a 1/4 inch foot again, straight across. Make sure that you're back stitching. So I back stitched when I started here, and I'm also going to back stitch here. Okay, our outer bag is now assembled, and we boxed all our corners, and we're ready to flip it to the right side, which is one of the most exciting things ever. I get so excited about this part. So we're going to take, and we're going to turn it right side out. Look at that. Look how cute this is. Oh, I love this bag. And just give your corners a pop with your fingers and push those corners out. So it looks like that. So the bottom of your bag looks like that. And there we have it. The outer of the bag is all complete, and so is the liner. So now we're ready to attach the liner to the bag. So this part is also important. So we're going to keep the liner wrong side facing us so we can see the seams, okay? So when we're looking at it, we can see the seams. And then the outer part of the bag is right side facing us so we can see the beautiful design. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to open up the bag, and we're going to slip the liner inside with the wrong sides facing out so you can see the seams, and we're going to put it inside the bag. Okay, now if you wanted, you could do an interior pocket at this point before you put your liner inside, but I'm not going to. I'm just excited to get this done. Okay, so now that the liner is inside the bag, we are going to line up our seams to the liner of the seams to the liner of the outer tote. And I just like to clip the corners just a little bit, making sure not to clip the outside of the bag because that really does suck when that happens. So I'm just going to do that to both sides, and just be super, super careful that you're not clipping our our seams right there, okay? All right, so then we're going to line up the lining of and see how I sewed that incorrectly. I should have made sure that the batting was down when I sewed it, but that's okay. We are not concerned. So then we're going to take the liner. I'm going to bring it down a little bit here so you can kind of see a little bit better. So I'm going to show you on this side because this is bothering me. Okay, so we're going to take the seams and we're going to match them up like that. And I have to go get my binder clips for this for sure. So then we're going to clip our seams together first, So we're going to take the binding clips and we're going to clip the side seams first. And you want to make sure that the lining is, okay, so here's the top stitch that we did for the front of the bag. Do you see that? So we just kind of want to cover those stitches. I just want it to be just above that. And you're just going to go around and you're going to clip your bag, but you're going to clip the seams of your bag first. So you're going to clip each side first, and then we're going to do the middle of the front panels. And again, and I like to put 3 clips where the seam is, just to make sure that it's super secure. And then we're going to go to the middle of the bag and we're going to clip that next. And then we're just going to work our way around from there. We just want to make sure, and I do that by pulling the bag apart in the opposite direction. So those are the seams, right? I'm just going to adjust the camera there. So those are the side seams. We've aligned our seams to the side, and then we're going to open the bag like this, and then we're going to clip here next. I find that if you do it this way, it just lines up really, really nice. Okay, and then from there, we're just going to go in sections and clip it. So then we know that our lining is like a perfect match. And we're not going to have any like extras or misalignments or anything like that. I tend to use a lot of clips when I do this because I don't want it to shift when I'm sewing it. But again, that is like a personal preference. You do whatever makes you happy and comfortable while you're sewing, okay? I'm just going to bring this up because this is bothering me. And we're going to continue on in little like quadrants, I guess. I guess that's how we would put it together. So it's starting to look like this, right? We've gone around in segments and kind of clipped it in. I find that when I do it this way, I get a more even result. So look at that. Look how pretty that is. It's coming in together so good. Okay, so now we are ready to top stitch it. So when you're sewing it together, make sure that your straps are out of the way. So I'm going to sew it facing this way so I can see the inside of the liner to make sure that it doesn't shift while I'm sewing. So I'm going to sew it with the liner facing me. And there you have it. We have our quilted tote bag with leather straps and drop-in liner all done. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial and you make the bag because it is a lot of fun, and I think it turned out really, really pretty. I'm excited to see all the different colors that you use. So you can find this pattern at exshawquilts.com. Like and subscribe for more. See you next time. Bye now.